Hi, Cindy here, and we've been talking about divorce actually. So, I started a series on it last week about ending relationships and coping with divorce. And yesterday went into more depth about children and divorce, how to manage and help children, and shared some 7 essential truths about some of the realities when children are going through this. So today I want to expand on children more and teach you some things to look for depending on the age of your children as you're going through this, and ways to help them with a lot of the things that are the issues that are going to come up for them. So let's break it down developmentally here first, and first talk about babies and toddlers, the little itty bitties. When you have little ones who are like 0 to 2 years old, of course they have no comprehension of divorce. They couldn't, understand that if you begged them to. But what they do know, what little ones know, is that something's awry, something's different, something has changed. Um, they babies and toddlers are sponges, and they really can feel your stress or your joy, whatever you're feeling. But if you're going through a divorce and you're stressed out, which would be normal, I hate that word, but they can sense that. So they're going to know when there's tension or stress or sadness in you by how the energy you're bringing into your time with them. And so that will probably cause them some disruption and anxiety. So what you might see in a little person, since they won't have words for their stress, is you might see them regress. For example, let's say your little toddler had already learned to walk. Your little toddler may go back to crawling because they feel more secure with that. They don't want to feel the independence of walking might be a little overwhelming right now, so they might regress a little bit. Or if they used a pacifier and kind of grew out of that, they might need the comfort of that more again. So this might be something that you see. So the best way to help a little bitty someone who you cannot explain this to and rationalize through it with them is to keep up their daily routines as much as possible. If they have a child care provider, try to keep them in that situation with the same child care provider. Nap time the same, nighttime the same foods or liquids or breastfeeding or whatever their routine is. Try to keep as much consistency as possible, and that will help them to feel secure. That's what helps a little person feel secure, is to have a very predictable environment. And sometimes that's hard to pull off in the transitions that come with divorce, but as much as you're able to respect that, um, that would be great. So, and lots of physical affection and reassurance. They may need held more. They may need you close more. They may not want to engage in independent play as much if they're, at the level that they do that anyway at that age. So, when you see regression, for example, if they go back to crawling, don't try to just stand them up, and get them walking. They'll go back to it when things settle down a little bit and they feel more secure again. So just keep those things in mind. I think that's the best thing that you can do for your very, very young children. And remember that later on down the road, you're going to be their memories for them of life when you were all together before the divorce. And hopefully you will hang on to some family pictures and pictures with their other parent, and have some memories to share with them later on that'll kind of fill in some of the pieces, so they know, what it was like before the divorce. Also, that you'll be able to fill in some of those blanks later. So that will be a nice gift to them later on. They're usually curious about that later in their lives. Then when they move on in age a little bit, and we have kind of the preschool phase, like age 3 to 5, this is, a difficult time for them to understand anything as well. And they're also, they really, really ask a lot of questions. Where's daddy? Where's daddy? Where's daddy? Where's daddy? Where's daddy? Well, daddy lives at the other house now. Daddy comes over on Wednesdays, or you'll see daddy next weekend. And you may be like, it's like when you go through the phase, what's that with this age child, with about everything. They're going to do the same thing about what's happening, and they're trying to master things. They're trying to understand things, and the concept of divorce is beyond them, most likely. So they may even say foolish things like, not that they're foolish, they're innocent, they're young, they don't know any better. But if you say, oh, mom and dad, daddy's going to live over here, mommy's going to live over here, you're going to go back and forth. They may someday, sitting having supper with you, say, how come daddy's not here for supper? And you'll think, oh my gosh, haven't we gone over this every day for the last 3 weeks or 3 months? But that's the permanency of things, the finality of things is difficult for them to grasp at this age. So much like the very, very young children, you want to keep up their routines as much as possible, lots of reassurance, tell them the truth, but not the ugly truth, but tell them the truth about the logistics that affect them. Oh yes, today is Monday, and this is the day that you go over to mommy's house. You'll be there from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then I will pick you up at Thursday after preschool, and you will be with me Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever. So be really honest with them about what to expect, and show them their new, help them to see, their new, what's going to be their new room in this house, and where, what's going to be their room in this house, and things like that. So lots of reassurance, honesty, love, physical reassurance, and keep up their routines as much as possible. And expect a lot of questions, and do your very best to remain patient even if they ask the same question over and over again. Answer them the same, give them the same feedback every time. And eventually they'll kind of master what's going on, and they'll stop asking so many questions. Okay, then we move on to like the 5 to 9 year olds, like the early elementary school years. Now this is a period for many children of magical thinking, and this is very important to understand, because how a child of this age might respond to a divorce is thinking that they made it happen somehow, that it's their fault. And it's not rational, of course. Like a child's thinking at this time might be, oh, when I got, mad the other day at my little sister because she took my toy, and I hit her. That's why my parents got a divorce. Like, that's why mommy and daddy don't love each other anymore, because I was bad. I was a bad kid the other day. That's how they can, add things up. At this age, it's very dangerous. It's like they start to master some levels of understanding. They're getting much smarter about the ways of the world and relationships, but they're just not quite mature enough to get beyond that kind of irrational puzzle piecing of things. And so this is one of the most important things you can do if you see this going on, is to help them to understand they have nothing to do with this. Now, I know parenting is stressful. Having children adds stress to marriages, and sometimes marriages start to plummet when children show up. But that doesn't mean it's their fault. It's very much not their fault. You adults are in charge of your marriage, and they have nothing to do with it. And so it's very important that they understand this. And so say things like, your mom and I, we just couldn't work out our differences anymore. Or we've decided that we will all be happier if we live in separate places. And we both love you so much, and we do anything for you. No, of course not. You couldn't. It's not your fault. That's totally different that you got mad at your little sister the other day. Mommy and daddy have our problems, and this is the best solution we feel we have for the things that have the things that are problems between us. So it's not your fault. We both love you. We'll both remain in your life. We'll both da 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 da. So again, make sure they get it, that it wasn't their fault. Make sure that they can talk about their feelings with you if they're sad, mad, and make sure they play. This is so important. You may not, this might shock you a little bit, but what kids do, often, all ages, but right here, especially is when we start seeing this a lot, is, you may tell them this terrible news that you're going to break up, that you're moving, or or daddy's moving, or mommy's moving, or they're moving, or whatever. You announce this and you start dealing with the logistics of shifting your lives and things, and they may go, oh, okay, and then go run outside and play, or go to their rooms and play. And you may think, did you not hear what I said? Are you not getting what I just said? I just told you the worst news of your life, perhaps. But here's the thing, is kids go, that's how they cope. They go, oh, I've received this information. Okay, now I'm going to go play, which is my domain. I'm a kid. This is where I express myself. This is my comfort zone. This is where I'm in my element, and I'll think about it there. They're not going to stay in intense conversation with you regarding these issues like your older children might, or other adults might with you. That's not going to happen with these younger people. They're going to go where they are comfortable in their environment, their best environment, which is play, and deal with it, like start to process it. And then they'll come back to it with you. They will come back and go, now, da, 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 da. They'll revisit it. They can't stay in the intensity of it. They have to go from play to dealing to, the intensity of it. Off to play, back with you. Off to play, back with their reality. And they will play out their issues in their play. So you may see, for example, if little Susie has a dollhouse, sorry to be so gender stereotypical, but it's just for our purposes today. You may see her start to play with the mommy and daddy dolls in a way that, mommy's angry at daddy, or daddy's angry at mommy, and mommy leaves and gets in the car and goes off and lives over here in this little house that she's created now, and daddy stays in this house over here. Or you might literally see it play out, or you may see, the toy dinosaurs having a battle, having a war with each other, and then everybody goes their separate directions or whatever. And so you might see kids playing this out. This is like, we adults often talk it out, they play it out. So, and it's good for them. So do not interrupt this play. Don't think, oh gosh, they're just dwelling on it, and oh, they're so angry when they play. Let them be. They're processing. Okay, that's really healthy. Very, very good sign there that you're seeing that. I'd much rather see that than a kid go curl up in a ball in their bedroom, and not playing. So their play doesn't mean they're not taking their life changes seriously. It means they need to get in there and deal with things. So allow it, let it be, and that kind of thing. Support that kind of positive processing in their play. And make sure they're allowed to stay a kid. We want kids of all ages to be where they're at developmentally. We want them to stay children, babies to stay babies, toddlers to stay toddlers, preschoolers to stay preschoolers, elementary school children to stay elementary school children. So even though there's a very serious, difficult, tense, stressful tone kind of clouding over your family life right now as you're going through this, they need to still be kids. So they still need to go to the park. They still need to go to school. They still need to have friends over. They still need to go get ice cream. They still, and play. So let them be kids. You are the adults. You have to deal with the big stuff. They're the kids. So please respect that. Okay, let's move on to ages 9 to 12. Now this age, this preteen age, there's a lot going on here already. They're likely, entering what I call the zone, which is, the hormonal changes that boys and girls go through as they're entering upper elementary or middle school or junior high or whatever you call it in your neck of the woods. They realize the reality of the situation now on a much bigger level than the siblings that are a bit younger than them. They realize our parents are breaking up. The marriage is over. Like the finality of it, usually they can grasp, which can cause heavier grief, deeper concern, greater fears, anxieties, and things like that. They might really need more justification for your decision. They might be like, why are you doing this? How come this happened? And so you want to be able to intelligently answer their questions without telling all the dirty secrets or ugly truths. So there's kind of a fine line there, right? So give them enough that they can go, oh, okay, but not so much that they know things that aren't appropriate for them to know. They don't need to know, all the gory details of your relationship with their other parent. So, but it's okay to answer their questions at some level. And they aren't likely thinking of the worst of the worst. They're probably more thinking, oh gosh, you guys fought and you can't get over your fight, or something like that. And you, in the back of your mind, know there's been abuse, or there's addiction, or there's affairs, or there's severe financial, indiscretions. There's, whatever all there is, or you've fallen out of love, or the list is unending. But anyway, try your best to answer their questions without being disrespectful to the other parent and without overdoing it. Only answer what they ask you. They will ask as long as they need to know, and then they'll stop. When you've satisfied them, they'll stop asking. Okay, so that's the main tasks then. So this stage and the next, adolescence, especially the younger adolescents, so the hormones are flying around, which means the emotions are going to fly around. So the mood swings may be greater than normal with a big life change like this happening. Again, all ages need their friends, need their routines, need their whatever recreation, play, or relief from school, homework, chores. The intensity of the family life is they gotta have their break, their release from it, and time to process and come back to you later. Okay, so let's move on to the teenagers, the 13 to 18-year-olds. They're in that phase of life where they don't want to be different from other kids. And nowadays it's so common that they won't feel probably as like the bizarre kids because the parents are getting divorced. Back in the early 80s when my parents got divorced, it was unusual. It was much less common. So in my town, my family was one of the first few in my class, one of the first few to break up. So it was, a little more embarrassing maybe than it might be at this stage, 35 years later, which is good. We don't want kids to feel like they're weird. They don't want to feel weird and different. So anyway, and then of course this phase, they're trying to become more independent of you. and they're more likely to take risk-taking behaviors. That's just adolescence in general. So when a divorce happens, that might be magnified. These things might be magnified. Or if you have an adolescent that thinks he or she has to be the really good kid and do everything perfect, they might intensify that and now really like strive even harder to get the perfect grades or be perfectly behaved or do everything you ask right on time. Anything that is kind of how your kid's been before might be magnified. So if they're kind of an angry kid, it's got a chip on their shoulder, the chip might get bigger. If they're kind of the little angel in the family, the angelic behavior, the halo may get larger and shinier. So these are common responses to divorce. They might feel really free to ask you a lot of questions and even get downright nosy about what's happened. They may feel like they have a right to really know the inside story of their mom and dad splitting up. And that is a judgment call for you to make. When I got divorced from my children's dad, they were 16 and 14. And I treated them with respect and with intelligence and maturity and gave them enough information that I felt like they really understood. They had somewhat of a picture of the inside story between their dad and I for my reasons for ending the marriage. I wanted them to have enough of a sense of it and treat them with that respect, give them enough, but I didn't give them the whole ball of wax, especially in the beginning. I kept some things private that were private between their dad and I, and plus part of that agenda for me was I wanted to, to support their relationship with their dad, support their ongoing relationships with both of us, and so they don't need to know everything. You've had a private life with this person for however long. And so if you have teenagers, you've been with them probably a long stretch. And so, but yet they deserve some answers. You're disrupting their lives. You're breaking their family up. You're asking them to change the circumstances of their lives and ride this horrible wave with you. And they're moving into adulthood, so they can manage more information than the little bitties. So, excuse me. Understand that you could see all kinds of reactions, but let them explore, their understanding of it and ask you questions and treat them well and let them know what to predict. Keep as much predictable about their routines and their lives as you possibly can. I addressed this some yesterday about try not to change everything in their lives. Try to keep as few changes as possible. So they can feel like most of their life is remaining pretty consistent. So in general, all ages, whatever developmental stage they're in, they may regress somewhat. They need your honesty. They need to be able to have their feelings accepted, and you can help them manage those feelings by accepting their feelings and listening to them. Even if they're angry with you, listening to them and, helping them to know, give them some hope too. It won't always be this hard. I know this is terribly difficult. I would recommend that all parents apologize to their children for not keeping their marriage, making sure their marriage worked. I would apologize to them, model this. We've done something that, we're asking you to deal with something we wish you never had to deal with. I'm sorry. I'm changing your life in a huge way right now. I apologize for that. But I do believe in my heart of hearts that this is what's best. So, help them have outlets for their feelings, physical outlets, social outlets, verbal outlets, spiritual outlets, if that's part of your frame of reference in your lives. And respect them a lot. They have a lot to wrap their brain around, and they will, and they can. Another thing that's important to say, I think, before I wrap this up for today, is that as students, they may struggle to focus and concentrate in a way you haven't seen before. Math and reading are The research shows that math and reading comprehension are the two most difficult academic tasks for students experiencing loss, change, grief, stress, so, which is divorce, right? Divorce represents all those things. So you might help them to be a little more patient with themselves. If they're trying to read 3 chapters tonight and it's just not soaking in, you might encourage them to set the book aside, go do something recreational or that gives them relief and de-stresses them a bit, and then come back to it. You may, if they have 50 math problems to do tonight, and they're struggling, you may say, oh, you've completed 10, take a break, let's have dinner, let's go back to the other 10 later. Or you may work with teachers even, or have them have conversations with teachers in which they maybe do fewer problems. Like maybe if the teacher's assigning 50 math problems for most students, maybe at this time that teacher will let them do just the odd numbered problems and only do 25 a night, or have more time to get all 50 done, because it's just so difficult to concentrate for some and focus and learn and grasp new concepts and things like that. It's just a gentle, tenuous period, and we all need time to adjust. So anyway, if you did not see yesterday's video about children and divorce, I highly recommend that you watch it. It's a nice general stage setting for what the details, the more intimate details of today and things to expect at different stages in their lives. And tomorrow I will be discussing co-parenting and how to do your very best to manage that in the best ways possible on behalf of your children. So thanks, and I hope you have a great day. I hope this helps. Bye-bye.